Hi there, my name's Mel or Breath Gal, and welcome to my short video which you'll need to watch before joining my online workshop. So in the workshop we will be practicing a certain type of breath work called conscious connected breathing. But more on that in a moment. So many of us breathe in completely different ways. Much like our thumbprint, it's very unique. Although we're sharing the same air, we all have our own unique breathing pattern. So it's really worth knowing this before we go into the breathing workshop. So you're going to do your own breath pattern analysis now. So what you're going to do is you're going to place one hand on your chest space here, and then you're going to place the other hand on your belly. Now make sure your thumb is around your belly button when you place this hand on your lower belly. And sitting comfortably, spine nice and tall but relaxed. And then if you like, just gently closing down your eyes. So you're just going to breathe normally now, making sure you're inhaling and exhaling through the nose for the moment. And you're just going to notice as you breathe whether your belly is moving more than your chest or whether your chest is moving more than your belly. Or perhaps it's a mixture of about the same. So just take a few more breaths and just check which is moving more for you. So when you know, just flutter your eyes open. So if you have more movement happening in the chest, that means you might be an upper chest breather, you might be an over breather. So in the workshop, we'll be getting you to open up the breath down deep into your belly space. And if you have movement in the belly, that's great news. That means you're activating your diaphragm, but you might find there wasn't much movement going on up here. So we'll be opening up the breath in the chest space as well, if that was you. And if they were about the same, then that's fantastic. But we can always breathe a bit more freer and a bit more open. So the reason we're doing this technique is to release the tension around the body when we breathe. We often have micro breath holds throughout the day that creates tension around the muscle and then the breath. And then sometimes when more serious things happen throughout the day, these breath holds can be longer and create more tension around the body. So doing this breathing technique will be completely opening up the respiratory system and releasing tension throughout the body. So in the workshop, we will be practicing conscious connected breathing. Conscious just means that we're telling our breath what to do, and connected means we're going to connect our inhale to our exhale and our exhale to our inhale. And by that I mean we're not going to pause in between our inhale and our exhale. Our inhale is going to be about twice the length of our exhale. We're going to be breathing through the mouth, which is sometimes controversial these days, but at all other times we should be breathing through the nose. There's just particular techniques that work really effectively when we breathe through the mouth, and this is one of them. We take a really lovely deep inhale using our diaphragm, activating our diaphragm, and then a lovely soft sigh of an exhale. There's no forcing of the exhale, but there'll be time to practice this when we do the workshop, so don't worry. Alongside the breath, there are going to be other accoutrements. So this is a kind of combination therapy type of breath work. So alongside the breath, we'll be doing other things. So the first thing we'll be doing is acupressure, self-acupressure, and I'll be telling you where to go. It might be around the diaphragm, the shoulders, or the legs, or the hips, but I'll direct you at the time. We'll also do something called toning, which is just making sounds with our throat. Again, this can release tension. We might make an ooh sound or an ah sound. And we'll also be doing some movement. This can be a banging on the chest here, or we can use our hands on the floor next to us, or we can bang our feet on the floor as well. And again, this just really releases and helps release tension around the body. And lastly, I might say some affirmations. These can work subconsciously, so just let those float in and float out. Affirmations, for example, might be, it's safe for me to be in my body, for example. So those are all the parts of the combination therapy. All of those accoutrements work amazingly on their own. So all together can feel absolutely fantastic. So what are the benefits of breathing well? Well, there are many. They fall into the categories of physical benefits, emotional benefits, and it's also helpful for our mind. So just to start with our physical benefits of learning to breathe well. So when we're breathing in the way that you're going to be doing in the workshop, we're really going to be activating our diaphragm, which is here just below that lower floating rib. Now, when we're doing lovely, deep, slow breathing like we're going to be massaging the digestive system. So that's the first system that really helps. We breathe around 20,000 times a day. So if you think about how many times the diaphragm is going to be moving, and when we're breathing in a lovely, slow, deep way, the diaphragm is going to be massaging that digestive system. So it can really help with digestive issues such as IBS when you learn to breathe well. Our diaphragm is also connected to our heart. So when we breathe in this way, it really helps our cardiovascular system. It's also connected to our lymphatic system. So when we learn to breathe well, we can really help get rid of toxins. And then also it's related to our nervous system. So how we breathe is connected to how we feel. There's two parts of our autonomic nervous system, and it's our really calm, lovely rest and digest part of our nervous system. And when we're feeling in this way, we're breathing really calm and really slowly. And then there's the activated part of our nervous system, which is connected to our fight or flight or freeze. So when we're working, as well as when we're activated doing sport, but also if, we're feeling stressed or in fear. Now, depending on how we feel, we can actually change the way we breathe, and that will change the way that we feel, which I think is just, really, really fascinating. When we're learning to breathe well, it can also help us emotionally. When we have various emotions, depending on where we are at that time, we might not feel safe to express those emotions, or even when we were younger, we didn't feel safe to express those emotions. We often can hold our breath, as I mentioned earlier. When we hold emotional tension in our body, that actually creates physical tension, and that can be long lasting and over time. And when we learn to breathe well, we can really release that tension, and we can integrate some of the emotions also that may arise when we do this type of breath work. And then finally, obviously it can help with mental clarity. When we're feeling in that fight or flight or freeze, we're often breathing short, shallow breathing in our chest, and we're not feeling safe. So we're telling our body we're not safe, and then our mind can feel really negative. So when we're breathing really calm and really slow and really deep, we're more likely to feel calmer and then feel more positive. So what to expect from your session? Well, if this is the first time that you've done this, you might find it quite challenging. You might feel some resistance, as we will be breathing in this particular way for around 35 to 40 minutes. If you've done this before, please don't judge your session, as it will probably be different from your last session as well. So the usual things that you can experience, and the things that I'm going to mention now, some people have lots of these sensations and some people have none of these sensations, but I just need to mention them. So you might get tingles. Common places for people to feel tingles is generally in the hands, or sometimes in the neck and face, but you could have these tingles in lots and lots of different places. If you have very tight, strong sensations in the hands, and your hands feel a bit tight, this might indicate you have something called tetany. And tetany is a low volume of CO2, carbon dioxide, within the body, which is a vasoconstrictor. So the blood vessels constrict and make your hands feel like this. Now, this only happens if you're really forcing the exhale, for example. So no forcing of your exhale, as I demonstrated earlier. You take a lovely deep inhale, and it's a lovely, just gentle, soft sigh of an exhale. If you do get something called tetany, all that you have to do is do a few breath holds, or just close your mouth and just breathe normally for your nose. And this sensation will dissipate after a few moments. You're totally safe and you don't need to worry about it. So other things that you might feel would be a temperature change. Some people get really hot, and also some people do get cold. It's to do with that we're working with the cardiovascular system as well. So just make sure that you have a blanket nearby. Other things you might feel is some numbness in different parts of the body. This also dissipates towards the end of the session. You might feel that you have a dry mouth when you start to do the technique. This definitely passes. Sometimes you might feel slightly lightheaded to start with as well, and that also passes. And just going back to the dry throat, instead of having a drink, otherwise you might need the toilet halfway through, which will interrupt your session. There's a really good tip here. You can put your tongue just on the roof of your mouth, and this will just create some saliva in your mouth, and so that you don't get that dryness there. Also, you might yawn. That's really normal as well, and that passes. Then lastly, you might feel certain emotions. This is really, really normal, as we're just releasing physical tension, which can then sometimes release emotional tension. And those emotions can be anything, by the way. You could have sadness, frustration, anger, but also other emotions that we suppress too, such as joy and laughter, and they're all really, really welcome. All the emotions are completely welcome. What I would say is, don't attach, a particular story to that emotion. Just feel that emotion arise and then come back to the breath. And these emotions usually pass after a few breaths anyway. And yeah, and then you'll feel great. So setting up your space. So it's really important just to spend a few moments setting up your space ready for the workshop. A really comfortable environment. You can lay on your bed, although sometimes people do fall asleep when they lay on their bed. So it is more preferable for you to lay on the floor if you do have a yoga mat, for example. You can light a candle, just make sure it's safe, or dim the lights, but I do need the lights on so that I can see you and direct your breath. When you're laid down, you'll need to have your feet placed firmly on the floor and your legs about a hip distance apart and your knees gently resting together. Make sure you have a blanket nearby, but if you do feel cool and you put that on, please only cover your legs, because I need, again, to be able to see your belly and your chest so that I can direct the breath. If you have high blood pressure or asthma, you'll need to be slightly raised up. That's really, really important, but do make sure you're comfortable. If you need a pillow, you can have one, but just a small one, because if you put a lot of pillows behind your head, it will constrict your airway, because your head will start to do this a little bit. And then lastly, just really listen to your body. I will be directing the breath, but just really listen to your body. If the sensations are too much for you, for example, you can do the technique through the nose. It's a much softer experience, but it's still really nice to do. Or if you would like to take a break, please at any time, just relax and just do your normal nasal breath. And then when you're ready, you can rejoin and do the breathing technique with us all. And I look forward to seeing you all soon.